Make sure you subscribe to the Below the Surface podcast by Eclipsium in partnership with CRA. We've had the pleasure of speaking with some amazing guests, including Zeno Kova, Richard Hughes, Vincent Zimmer, and more. We discuss topics related to firmware and supply chain security, uncovering those pesky vulnerabilities that lie, well, below the surface in your environments. You can find all the episodes and subscribe by visiting eclipsium.com/podcast or searching for Below the Surface in your favorite podcast catcher. Welcome back, everyone, to Paul's Security Weekly. Quick announcement before we get started, actually to stay up to date with Security Weekly on X, formerly known as Twitter, for the latest show clips and updates at Sec Weekly. Allows you to stay connected with our cybersecurity community. Also, make sure you check out the Stogie Geek Show, stogiegeeks.com. We broadcast every other Friday live on YouTube and sometimes LinkedIn when it wants to cooperate. But myself, Jim McMurray, Joe Hozempa, and many others talk about cigars, whiskey, and nerd stuff in that order. So nice. It's a lot of fun. We're got a show coming up this Friday. Make sure you check it out, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Mr. Lee Neely has joined us.
Oh, it's good to be here. How you doing? It's hump day already. Damn.
It is Wednesday all day. This much is true. Got a lot to talk about. Aubrey came back. He's going to hang out with us, talk about the security news this week. We got a lot of IoT stuff. We've got
when don't we?
I know we've got just a lot of stuff. A lot of it's IoT.
Yep. Speaking of hump day, Josh is back.
Josh is back. Where do we want to begin?
At the beginning.
Well,
go ahead,
Lee.
Yeah. So actually, I ran across a story that I think is kind of not super important, but it made me think of Larry, and I thought I wanted to start there. And that's the two guys in London who got busted for running their own cell tower. They appeared to be man-in-the-middling everybody, using it for smishing attacks on everybody and their brother and their cousin. Like it just reminded me of fake AP. But it's not that trivial when it comes to cellular, or is it? That's what I was trying to figure out. They said, the tower doesn't authenticate, the device authenticates to it, gives you their IMEI number for free. Cool, but what's the catch? I mean, this can't be that simple, can it?
Do you have to downgrade it to 3G?
That's a great question. And I would think you'd have to downgrade it to 3G because 3G cell towers were really easy to implement.
Mm-hmm.
4G is also reasonable to implement, but I don't know about the tower-based authentication. I haven't dug into that much. And then we start talking 5G, and that's a whole different
ball of wax.
Different animal. Yeah. So especially when we were talking in the last segment, when Aubrey mentioned the privatized 5G stuff, like,
oh yeah.
No, the downgrade attacks to 4G and 3G are pretty straightforward because it just it says, sorry, I don't read you well enough. You're going to have to downgrade, and it does.
Yeah.
Because those signals are longer. So if you're just barely out of reach of 5G, you're still within reach of 4G. So it'll automatically downgrade. Then it can break the encryption because the encryption is incredibly flawed on those. And actually building an MC catcher is actually vaguely trivial. USR P2 and a daughter board, and you're done. $2,000, I think.
That hard, huh?
There's a Linux distro that's built BTS something or other that is built for building your own IMSI catcher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey Larry, you feel like a project?
They got caught.
What's that?
Feel like a project?
I do, but
I wonder. But
I don't look good in orange.
Yeah, how did they get caught though? Was it users reporting shenanigans and then triggered an investigation?
Yeah, looks like
I think that was the case. Yes.
Yep. So according to Lee's write-up, the UK has a service which allows you to forward SMS messages for analysis, like open source spam reporting for email and type stuff. And then they did some analysis and got a bunch of stuff reported, it looks like, and then did some triangulation, and they set out the Looney Detective van, and
boom.
And some of you will get that Monty Python joke, and some of you won't.
Well, it's either that or Society for Silly Walks, right?
Yes, Ministry
for Silly Walks. Excuse me. I knew I got off on the wrong foot.
Well played.
So anyway, like I said, I thought This would be interesting in a lab, but I don't know that I'd want to try this outdoors. I mean, they do have that reporting service, and I think you can actually set it up to automatically forward your SMSs there. I'm just not completely down with the have all my SMSs go through the reading service to look at them and know what they are. But yeah, if it's junk, I'll hit the this is crap button and send it their way. Sure.
Right.
Yep.
You got to realize that the first off, Shell sees all your SMSs anyway. Let's be clear, and it's along the lines of it's very trivial to set one up. 5 or 6 DEF CONs ago, there were double the amount of cell towers around the Caesars than there should have been.
Yep. Yeah. Some folks showed up a week early.
We told them.
Yep.
Yeah, the FBI didn't notice it until we told them about it.
And even shortly after that, there were some folks in DC, New York City, that paid Uber drivers to put MC catchers in their cars and that type of stuff. And and it wasn't necessarily MC catcher, but they did driving around and they found that there were a number of fake cell towers around some of the embassies.
This is my shocked face.
Yes. Yep.
There's a neat trick I heard about that some places use, which is if you're not supposed to bring a cell phone into a facility, they run a dozen MC catchers around their parking lot and they just turn them on and off in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and what it does is in the your phone trying to catch onto a tower, it's a lot more power hungry. It's like turning your car engine on versus running. It just drains your battery in about 2 minutes. By the time you get into the facility, your battery's dead.
Wow.
And that's not illegal.
If you're a federal agency who has put in the proper applications to the FCC, then maybe. Or if you just don't give a shit.
Which may also be the same federal agency.
This is not something I'm denying.
I want to talk about the VPN shenanigans going on. People,
nope. Let's go on to something else.
Attackers hacking VPNs. This one is interesting because it represents a situation where a vulnerability was silently fixed, and as most of you know, this really grinds my gears because I tend to lean on the side of like full disclosure and giving everyone the information to level the playing field. And this was a severity 9.8 out of 10. I'm not sure which CVSS scoring system they used. I've noticed some weird stuff between 3.1 and 4.0. There's some new fields in 4.0, but this was Fortinet. And they silently fixed the vulnerability on November 28th of 2022, failed to mention the threat until December 12th of that year when the company said it became aware of an instance where this vulnerability was exploited in the wild. January 2023, 6 weeks after the vulnerability was fixed, Fortinet warned a threat actor was also exploiting it. So I'm not sure why Fortinet decided to not disclose the fix until basically they had to because it was being exploited in the wild. I mean, one could argue that they didn't want attackers reverse engineering the patch, and maybe that would give people time. But even at that, like I'm just a fan of the full disclosure. I'm also sensitive to, and we'll talk about this when we bring Iceman on the show, who makes the firmware for the Proxmox devices. There are circumstances where releasing the tools and or exploit would just cause more harm than good. If the defenders have no good path to mitigate the vulnerability, then like why make the problem worse by giving people an easy way to do it, right? So then it's a lot of circumstances, and we'll talk about it with Iceman, and in particular the hotel keycards that are vulnerable. We know they're vulnerable. People are fixing them. If someone releases a Flipper app where anyone can get into anyone's hotel room, all that does is put people at harm, right? I don't think that does any good. Maybe some people would fix it faster, but in that situation, fixing that vulnerability means if you've got 6,000 devices, door locks in your hotel, someone has to go to every single one and update the firmware. It's not remote, it's physical access. And that kind of stuff takes time. So again, there are circumstances where more time is warranted. In terms of software, excuse me, on a VPN appliance, it's a totally different story, right? I think we should just deploy this fix and tell people there's a vulnerability, tell people it's being exploited, and you need to get it fixed, right? Now, there are circumstances where the fixes could do bad things, but not as bad as the hotel example. So, I don't know. So Fortinet, I want to be fair to Fortinet. I don't want to knock Fortinet because we all live in glass houses. Yep. A lot of us work from vendors, right? And I don't know Fortinet's motives here. I don't want to speculate. They did say they never explained why. They didn't disclose this critical vulnerability. They declined to disclose what the company policy is for disclosure of security vulnerabilities, and representatives didn't respond to Dan Gooden in this article, which I'm like my advice to Fortinet is be a lot more transparent.
Oh, yeah.
And like give us even if it's we don't agree with your answer, like having
It's
an
still
answer.
an answer.
Like I respect that. If you give me an answer and you're like, look, this is why we did it, even if it was a mistake, even you say, well, looking back, maybe that wasn't the right decision. Like tons of respect, but like not saying anything, then we're like speculating, and then people are just going to say bad things about Fortinet. I'm not saying bad things about Fortinet, but I don't agree with their decisions, right? On this, and I hope in the future they kind of heed this warning and are more transparent. But
well, you have to understand, 2023 was the year of the evil overlord. This year is transparency. So, in keeping with the theme, they patched it.
Right. And they did patch. I mean, you're right. At least they patched. Aubrey, sorry, you have comments on this.
No problem. The fact that they did not disclose on that one for me was kind of like it made me wonder if maybe they had a marquee customer that was impacted,
pressure, right?
Service provider or something, and said, don't, you can't release that because it would
right. But even if they have come out and said, look, if they had come out and said, with out of respect for our customers or whatever, or spun that in some way and related to say, we didn't want to like hurt our customers doing this, I would be like, yeah, that's fine. Like, I get it. Okay. Yeah. Like customers pay the bills. I totally get it. Yep. No one's going to dispute that. You still may not agree with it, but we've got an answer.
To not say anything.
I want to have a little bit different discussion, right? So like my question is how do you guys feel about VPN software now? VPN is, if we were to take a look in the last,
mostly useless.
Well, okay. So what is a more secure solution if you have to remotely access services, right?
Why?
Authenticated
Why do you have to remotely
proxy.
access services?
Wait, okay. So you both talked at the same time. I heard you, Josh. First. Aubrey, what'd you say?
I said authenticated reverse proxy. I like in a zero trust model, sure, authenticated reverse proxy.
But then there's the other reason. Why do you need to remote in? What are you remoting into?
Because I don't live in a Amazon AWS data center.
Yeah. So I've got.
You're remoting into one.
It's really cold and it's really loud in a data center.
And all of us work from home.
But it's comforting, and we all have been there at one time or another. So
it is. Yes, I do.
So
sorry, Bill. Go ahead.
I'll give you the scenario that I'm kind of struggling with right now is that I have a couple customers that are very, very small customers, right? So we're talking about like for example, it would be like a lawyer office or whatever, and and they do need to have access to files, and so when we start talking about things hold on a second. I understand.
Hold on, Josh. Let him finish.
Yeah. So when we start talking about exactly where you're going, they're just not there yet, right? So if we start talking about like SharePoint or anything like, okay, so go ahead.
So lawyers specifically should be in a practice management system. especially if they do anything related to personal injury, because personal injury lawyers, as of about 2017,
Well, okay, so that was a
are
bad
under
example, right? Okay, so bad example. Let's go with something not a lawyer, right? Like that was a
Go
bad
for it, man. I
office.
got them all.
Yeah.
I've done every single fucking kind
Okay.
of business you can do in this
Let me
country.
get to
Talk
my
about it.
question though. My question is so like I've had this argument with the IT provider that services those companies, and what he wants to provide is something like remote desktop, like not like RDP, but like the software called remote desktop, or whatever those
Team
whatever those
viewer.
team
Yeah,
viewer,
yeah.
whatever
Ugh.
whatever those things are, right? And so the decision comes down, what's more secure? Is it VPN or is it team viewer? Right. And what I've seen, and again, not picking on Fortinet, I actually like Fortinet products, but but they have had a really rough year with their VPN, their software. Right.
And they're not the only one. I mean, several vendors, Avanti, the list goes on in this space, are racing to patch these because they deploy an appliance, right?
Yep.
And I don't know if a service like Tailscale is that better, because you're relying on Tailscale's cloud at that point. So there is still some kind of service that you're relying on. You could deploy it yourself, but now you're still maintaining systems that could be attacked, right? I think
and need to be patched.
It needs to be patched, right?
And with Microsoft about to get whacked on the hill for all this crap they've been going through, it's entirely possible they may be yanked from FedRAMP and GCC High. This is going to be interesting.
That'd be bad.
Shit.
So, you didn't hear about this?
No, that's bad news for them.
The president of Microsoft's going in front of Congress in the next few days, and the Congress is pissed about all the breaches recently with Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
So, considering that most of the defense industry lives in GCC High, and uses the remote access to SharePoint and everything, because they're like, you're in SharePoint Online, why are you remote accessing into anything? And like, well, we have to VPN back into home base to use that. Like, no, you don't.
But we do.
Like, I feel your pain, Bill.
Yeah.
I really do. I do, because I deal with this. I do.
Well, I find myself, I'm in a position where I trust, and again, like, I'm not just picking on Fortinet, but can I trust Fortinet VPN? Like as a secure endpoint into, right?
Please clock.
Someone rang, a bell rung as soon as you said, "Can I trust Fortinet VPNs?" And it went, ding.
And it was
like
exactly the half an hour, and it was Lee's clock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was great. I thought Fortinet hacked the show and was like, we're going to ding as soon as Bill said,
I see you have the machine that goes ding.
Yes, indeed.
Is it Monty Python night? I totally missed that. And now for something completely different. The man with 3 buttocks. How you doing, Larry?
I fart in your general direction.
Go away.
Your father was a hamster and your mother smelled of elderberries.
Oh my gosh! Well, the show is we're all lost.
It's out of control.
Yeah.
Bill's trying to have a serious discussion. This is serious Bill having a serious discussion.
Right. This is serious Bill.
We're sitting around quoting
Bill.
Monty Python. I mean, what do you expect, Bill?
Okay, so Bill, in all seriousness, the answer to your question is that
We shall taunt you a second time.
Every single vendor is going
Is that
through
an African
massive
swallow?
problems, because every single vendor of a product such as the one you're talking about, VPN, reverse proxy, anything, they're getting attacked so hard because people want to do a supply chain attack on all of their clients.
And encrypted by the husk.
And so
your VPN should say none shall pass. Okay.
That's the motto of the day. None shall pass unless authorized. But in all seriousness, it's a problem at this point.
Also, VPNs aren't quite dead yet. I'm just saying.
I'm not dead yet.
I got better.
Good Lord.
Wow. Why?
What happened?
What happened?
You know, our younger viewers are all going, what the fuck are they talking about?
I watched the movie.
Yeah, Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
And Bill's just going, shut the fuck up.
So the real problem is that you've got all these vendors that are being attacked on a ridiculous basis. I mean, Aubrey, let me ask you about your day job.
In the system.
Your day job is one of those vendors. How bad have the attacks gotten on your source code repositories, on your, on your systems, on your everything over the past, say, 2, 3, 4 years?
So honestly, for us, we have had things, in my opinion, fairly gentle. I'm going to knock on wood for that. I feel as though the bad actor community has maybe laid off of us a little bit. We went to kind of a model whereby we release all of our vulnerabilities once per quarter, right? And for whatever reason, they seem to like that. A lot of
which is twice as often as Oracle.
But that's
Did I say
it.
that out loud? Was that my outdoor voice?
Yes.
Marianne's going to beat you up.
Bug bounty people are always active. They're always going to be out there and active. But I guess when you're a vendor that's willing to work with the bug bounty community, they tend to treat you better.
Do you have a bug bounty program?
Yes.
Do you mind if I ask who? Do you do it through like BugCrowd or HackerOne, or do you know?
I don't know. That's something that the security incident response team at F5 is responsible for that. But like I say, hit me up on LinkedIn and such. I talk to those guys all the time.
Okay.
Awesome.
Curious. We'll just ask Casey Ellis. Do you do F5?
And funny enough, I'm going to knock on wood here again, but no real big attacks to our SSL VPN, which is amazing.
Oh, congrats. That's awesome.
Yeah. And you are a brave man.
Brave.
Yeah.
Please be gentle.
His security operations center is going, we hate you.
I know.
Well, Aubrey's comment about, having people going after their code repositories. I saw the report about the New York Times getting their code repo hacked. I was like, what? New York Times? It was 5,000 repositories that were accessed at the New York Times. I mean, it turns out Wordly is their product. I didn't know. I don't play it. But I was like, holy crap. That's like really cool and yikes, alarming because of the scale of the oops. But I'm glad I don't. Yeah.
I think Hugging Face, the AI model thing, suffered something similar recently as well, man.
The exposed keys. Yeah, people put their keys up in the Hugging Face repos, and the keys are visible.
There's also malware embedded in Hugging Face LLMs as well. So just be careful with those.
Well, that's actually what's going to go to next. Is how many of your EDRs detect AI malware now?
And how do you know if it's just not even a malware, but it's just a model that has been trained to do some really nefarious crap? You don't know. Right?
Not even trained. The developers didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Or that's just a bonus.
Yep.
I mean, a great idea is just taking screenshots every, couple of seconds.
Every 15 seconds?
It's helpful.
Yeah.
It's helpful.
Yeah, so it sounds like I don't know if you guys watched the Apple announcement, but it sounds like Apple Intelligence is going to be doing something similar too, right? So so you're obviously talking about the Microsoft announcement. I forget what that was called, Paul.
WWDC.
No, the Microsoft announcement with the screenshots every 5 seconds.
What was that called?
Recall.
Yes.
I can't recall what it was called. Yeah.
They pulled that back.
Yes.
Did they?
Yes.
Yeah, Recall is not going to be turned on by default, and it's not even going to be released, I think, for another few months or years or something.
Huh.
And I bet it gets rebranded.
Yeah. It died before its time.
Microsoft's notorious for that.
I bet it doesn't have a name. I bet it's just going to be done as part of feature XYZ and patch 9,427 or something.
I bet you the name's going to be called Copilot.
Copilot for operating.
Oh, that's something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how many AI will be named Copilot.
All of them. Mm-hmm. All of them will be named Copilot at one point or another.
Yep.
So when we say AI now, do we have to differentiate if we're talking about Apple intelligence or artificial intelligence? I'm not sure.
I think when we say AI from now on, we take a shot.
Yeah, I think that's a good
we'll
one.
be dead.
No, we'll be dead.
No,
we'll have to do those new shots that I sent you, Paul.
Oh
yeah. Where were mine?
Oh no, it was something on Instagram of a recipe we should make. It was 2 parts vodka, 1 part rum, and a couple of drips of
Don't do it. Don't
rocket fuel.
Don't just
blood.
Just don't.
No,
it looks like
Bailey's Irish Cream.
it looks like something you would deposit at a bank.
Yep.
And not money.
Can I say?
Not a money bank.
Can I say the name?
What was the drink called?
Come in a hot tub.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Race.
Yeah.
So speaking of hot
Hey,
tubs,
did you guys hear about Talos 2024 1942?
1942.
Yeah,
No.
it's Talos Security Advisory Talos-2024-1942.
Nope.
Perhaps
What?
one of the coolest vulnerabilities that I've read in a
Oh.
really long time. And I read a lot of vulnerability write-ups and prep for this show and my day
What?
job. And so this is a PLC. PLC
Yeah.
shocker runs Telnet.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Now, but the kicker is you
Oh, yeah,
Telnet to the PLC, right? And it just kind of like sits there and it's like, I really don't have an interface on Telnet unless you type the string MACBORG, MACBORG. MACBORG will then spit back the device MAC address and the current date. Now, in and of itself, extremely innocuous,
Yep.
kind of weird choice of names or magic strings to include. Maybe there were Star Trek fans.
and-
Shocker. Maybe there were Star Trek fans on the development team. Right?
Mhm.
But what the researchers figured out is that using the MAC address and the date, those are the ingredients you need to generate the passphrase. And when you enter this passphrase,
To enter debug mode.
yes, debug mode that lets you do all kinds of stuff, including sniff Modbus traffic, among other traffic, interface with other PLCs on the backplane, and all kinds of other administrative tasks. Now, they didn't reverse engineer the weak kind of crypto. Even though it was weak, they didn't bother to reverse engineer it. They reverse engineered all the code and then created their own.
They found the
Feature.
function that did it.
They found the function that did it and just replicated it. So you tell it to the device, it gives you the MAC address, the date. You take the MAC address and the date, you plug it into like your local copy of the algorithm that's running.
Yep.
It spits back a passphrase, and that gets you into debug mode. I was like,
Bravo.
just like, yeah, it's so. I'd not read a vulnerability description like that in the 19 years we've been doing the show.
And now,
thought it was awesome.
And now, Shodan will be sending the phrase of MACBORG to every Telnet port that it finds now.
Right.
oof.
So awesome.
And a 9.8 CVSS score heads.
Yeah.
Oh, the CVSS, that's just the. So I'm glad you said that, Aubrey, because I'm trying to think who scored it all. So Talos put a score on it. I want to say the vendor put a score on it and NVD put a score on it. And all three were different. I'm not sure if that was this vulnerability or some other vulnerability. But
sounds familiar.
there was also discrepancies between CVSS 3.1 and 4. I was talking about this internally with my coworker Nate Warfield, and CVSS 4 describes like a second tier of the CAA triad. And I'm not even quite sure of the difference, right? But if you just think about the CAA triad, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, this, and you score those like none, high, or low in your CVSS formula. After you read the description of this, you should come to the conclusion that these are all high, right? Confidentiality, integrity, because you can change how the device works, you can gain access to the device data, and availability, you can take it down. And then there's also something in there like, can you as an attacker affect like other adjacent systems? And to me, they kind of glossed that over because in the vulnerability, like you can interface with the backplane and potentially gain access to other PLCs. You can also sniff the Modbus traffic. I'm not sure if you can sniff Modbus traffic from other PLCs on the backplane, but I was like, this is bad.
So I just
Pretty
Googled MACBORG, and it turns out that there's a cowboy who posts Polaroid shots on Instagram that goes by MACBORG. And so I think we should all just go follow that guy, and so he could like wonder why he just got so popular all of a sudden.
Right, because we're looking for exploits, and all I got is Polaroid.
So I don't get the MAC. I guess from the MAC address. Yeah, got it. Okay.
Gotta be.
We're so proud of you, Bill. You got it.
Whoa.
It took that long, by the way. Like, yeah, I'm following
The
MACBORG.
sharpest tool in the shed sometimes, but
Hey,
Tonight, Bill is going to need some second or maybe third aid by the time we're done.
bring it. I'll take some first aid.
Speaking of which, is our friend still in town?
Yes, he is. I believe it might be another late night tonight.
I believe it might be as well.
Speaking of first aid, you might need some first aid for your PC if you have an HP ProBook laptop or desktop that was delivered a bad BIOS update. And many users, basically, they rebooted and it was a black screen, and the fans are just kind of running, which is really bad. And this was apparently pushed through Windows Update.
Oh,
and it was not an opt-out kind of thing. Like these PCs through HP's update service and or Windows Update, from what I read, they didn't have an option. Like you just reboot and it goes, "Hey, I'm putting a new UEFI BIOS on your system."
Oh, and by the way, you're effed.
Yeah, and by the way, don't power off your system. And there's also some kind of bug in there where it doesn't recognize your battery life. So it could be applying a BIOS update when you have like 3% battery, which all of us that have, applied a firmware update, we've all seen the message like, don't power off your device while you're doing that. But if you don't have an option, now you're searching for your power adapter. But it didn't matter. In a certain percentage of these PCs, it basically borked, that's a technical term, borked the UEFI update. And if you bork the UEFI update, now you're in trouble. Now you're in trouble.
Now Paul come to your house with his Bus Pirate 5.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, you need a spy. So then the thread starts getting into, so I've got a spy programmer and I'm trying to reflash my BIOS chip, which look, unlike your PC that you use every day, like this is not recommended things to do. Mm-mm. You could easily brick your system if you damage your spy flash chip.
Ask Paul how he knows this.
Ask me how I know this, because I don't use tweezers when I pull it off the dip connector. I just use my fingers, and usually it bends the pins. And once you start bending those pins, they easily snap off.
They have a shelf life.
Remember, lick your fingers before you do this.
Yeah, no, you want to use tweezers, but it's still, you need a copy of the not just the BIOS and not just a capsule. So like typically when you update your BIOS, your OEM will send you a capsule file. And the capsule file is basically just the changes that it needs. It's just the update. It's not the full firmware that lives on your spy flash. It's not.
It's a diff.
Yeah. Or it's just the update portion of it is in the capsule, right? And it's cryptographically verified and like the whole thing, but most of the time. But if you're going to re-flash your spy chip, you need the full firmware file and like all the blocks and sectors on your spy flash chip.
Yep.
Like region 0 is super important. That's kind of like your NTFS, your FAT file table. Like region 0 defines all the other sectors on the spy flash chip.
It's your boot sector.
Yes. And so you got to find that original file. Now, what concerned me when I looked at this, given my recent background in day job, is people are going, well, I went to this forum and I downloaded this firmware file, and that's the one that I'm going to flash onto my spy flash chip. Like, whoa. Like, please don't go flashing random UEFI images on your spy flash chip. They could be backdoored. I mean, if your system's already bricked and you put a bad image on there, like basically it's still going to be bricked. Right?
It doesn't get any more bricked, right?
Exactly. So the trick is finding the actual image. But what most manufacturers do, as we all know, is they're just going to send you out a new motherboard. They're not going to take it back, clip the chip and reflash the thing, right? Because for whatever too time consuming, it's easier for them to just ship a new board, right? And this is true with most of our electronics today. You all right, Lee?
Coughing up a lung over here. Sorry about that.
No worries. Take a drink. Relax. Yeah, no worries. So yeah, this was kind of, but I guess the word is like, don't just go get random images from place. Because if I was a malicious actor and knowing that this has happened, I'd totally have a malicious image for your HP that would work, but give me as an attacker really like pre-operating system access to your PC is a lot of fun, because it doesn't matter what you do in your operating system.
Where can we get that UFI? No, never mind. I've said too much.
Yep. So I feel, I mean, also, like, I mean, HP is a huge company managing all kinds of stuff. Like, you've never made a mistake programming software, right?
Nope,
We've all
not
made
once.
This one, though, if you make a mistake, you can brick a whole bunch of laptops, which is what happens. Now, HP did comment in the article and say, look, if this happened to you, we recognize you made an error. Please create a support ticket, and so we can help you. And so they are helping.
But I can't create a support ticket. It's on my computer.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Yes. Also, I don't know if they're supporting end of life devices. Well, I guess it was end of life. You wouldn't be getting a firmware update. So
exactly.
So
I mean, this is why I don't buy HP. I buy DY.
So going back to the pulling the chips with your fingers thing. So do you remember back in the PCAT?
Your fingers.
Remember the PCAT where they had the expanded memory and the extended memory boards, but they came blank and you put approximately a boatload of memory chips on them?
Yeah.
I did that for a living as part of the Q quality control bench I built for PCs coming into the lab. And you install 1,000 or so memory chips, you get good at not bending the pins.
Very true.
And
I would actually give you the counterpoint to that. I worked as a temp when I was really young, and they had us on and this is not a joke, Samsung set up an assembly line in the US because they had a whole batch of fax machines that came across with bad chips. So they set up an assembly line with temp workers gotten off of like Manpower or some whatever or another.
Oh, yeah.
And we were pulling a chip at one end and putting another chip in the other end. And when you have like 20 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds who have the motivation of making like $8 an hour.
Woohoo!
We didn't give a fuck. Like there's these guys going, why you know how I can't do a good Japanese accent, but like, why are you doing this wrong? We have girls and children back home doing this. And we're like,
bring them.
Okay. Apparently we didn't have the pride in our employment.
I did write an article about the Bus Pirate 5, and I just want to reiterate something I said in there. When you're working with Spy Flash chips, get the proper reader for your Spy Flash chip.
Yep.
Whether that's a clip, if the chip is soldered onto the board, if you can clip it, that's great. If you can pull it out and put it in a reader, that's great too. Don't do what I did and take the rounded barrel connectors that come with the Bus Pirate and just jam them on the chip, because that's how you break it, which is how I broke it.
That's how you break it.
That's how I break it.
Some of us that have a little bit more finesse may not.
Well, the second time I did it, I didn't break. I didn't break it. Yeah, so it's practice. I mean, also you could, if you want to desolder the chip, but then you got to resolder it back on if it's like a production thing, which is really, really hard. Well, if it's Spy Flash with the pins on the side, not so horrible. If it's the
surface mount,
like NAND flash, like we did on the device we were working.
It was an Android TV device.
It was an Android TV, yeah, but we had no intention of putting it back.
Nope, but still we could have put it back.
We could have, but you need like an oven and paste, or you need to
use hot air rework for that.
With the paste, because you get
and you can even do it with just a soldering iron.
Put it in all the little
as long yes,
because it's the
ball grid array.
Thank you. Ball grid array.
You can do that with a soldering iron. I've done it with a soldering iron and hot air rework to heat it from the top, and it sucks.
It sucks.
It can be done. Okay. It can be done.
I think that's what we run into is when we don't have all the right tools readily accessible and we have a project. Yeah, we could do it this way. But what I'm recommending for our listeners.
So you mean every time?
Yeah.
Every project.
Well, a lot of this equipment is not expensive.
Nope.
No. Like your Spy Flash programmers for, what was the chip they were using? This is super common. spy flash chip,
probably-
and it's
probably
not the Win.
not a Win bond.
It is maybe it's a Win bond, but it's a CH314. Is that it? Did I get that right? 341 CH something.
Either way.
This thread. These spy flash CH341A. Very common spy flash chip. You can find stuff on Amazon and other sites that is super cheap for doing this. But again, if you're taking it out of your laptop, it comes with a whole bunch of warnings. This is not for the faint of heart.
So the old adage, if you can't fix it, fonz it, does not work with that.
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah. Once if you bang it, it's bad, dude. Yeah, it's bad. But the gear to do is pretty. I like to kind of collect them. Like I order them from Amazon for $7. If I'm placing an AliExpress order, always like tack on some kind of spy flash reader for some chips, probably $5 from AliExpress, and then you just you put them in a case, and then you have them for those times where you need to reprogram a spy flash chip, right?
Yep. I mean, if you don't have the tool, you can't do it, right? Use the right tool for the right job.
So maybe next time tack on a chip puller.
Yes. Yes. It's like a keyboard cap puller. Like you can pull the keyboard caps with some other tool, but a keyboard cap puller is definitely the easiest. Yeah. Very similar.
And for what's a DY
This is
laptop,
not a keyboard cap puller.
Take the HP logo and turn it upside down.
Oh.
And it's a DY.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh
boy. Do you want to talk about PHP in other uplifting news? Do we want to talk about PHP? Good Lord.
What? No.
So what are they up to now?
The same old shit.
Okay, next.
What was awesome, my story number 9 is I think the better of the two, because there was a new exploitation path that was based on a command injection from 2012. So if you read the article that I posted in there, it's really good. I think this one, Watchtower Labs, did this one. So it basically works like this. So as I say in the article, it turns out that as part of Unicode processing, PHP will apply what's known as a best fit mapping, helpfully assume that when the user entered a soft hyphen, right? Because now we're talking Unicode to ASCII conversion. There's a couple of different representations of a hyphen, right? There's like the actual hyphen, then there's what they call a soft hyphen, and they look very similar on the screen, but they're two completely different things in Unicode. So when they do that translation, they assume that if you'd had a soft hyphen, it would convert it to a real hyphen and interpret it as such. And that's where the vulnerability lies. So if you supply a CGI handler with a soft hyphen, the CGI handler won't feel the need to escape it because it's not an actual hyphen, and it'll pass it to PHP. PHP tries to be helpful and goes, oh, you meant a real hyphen. And that's what allows the command injection, largely on Windows systems. And this ended up in the CISA KEV as well. And it's being exploited in the wild. So it's a lot of fun. But you got to read the whole write-up because it's a really fun kind of vulnerability. And then it's a rabbit hole. So like you start reading this article and you're like, wait, what is I keep clicking the wrong thing. So in the article, Orange Sci is the one that talks about it in their blog post. So then you're going to go read that blog post. But in that blog post, they're like, this was a bypass of the protections that was fixed in CVE 2012-1823. We all know CVE 2012-1823, right? So then you got to go read what that is. So like this is one where you got to go a couple levels deep of inception to get to the beginning, and then work your way back from CVE 2012. What did I say that one was? Whatever this one was. Oh, it linked to a VU note. But in any case, you work your way back from the 2012 back to the Orange Sci blog that goes back to the Watchtower Labs one. It's a fun read. It's fun time. You should do it. I'm telling you. You won't regret it. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you will.
Did anyone else just imagine social media that PHP would just go away at some point? Because I
think there was a time where we really wanted it to go away. Like at the time when the vulnerabilities were really heinous. There was like really, really obvious heinous vulnerability. Like in the config file, there was a
PHP ionized.
file upload vulnerabilities and like things like like those some of the like juicy. Those were some vulnerabilities, man. Now we get a little more esoteric stuff, but we also get CVE 2024 5585. This is another PHP vulnerability that's based on a previous one. So someone discovered that there was a previous 2024 vulnerability that in a different kind of iteration of it still allowed a command injection. I believe it was command injection. Yeah. So there's two like kind of inception based PHP vulnerabilities. I mean, if you're using PHP, I don't have to tell you need to apply patches because hopefully you're already doing that. I hope.
You hope.
One can only hope.
The-
What else we got,
oh,
Larry? Now we got to talk about like
I
really depressing vulnerabilities.
yeah.
That's what-
So I got one that one of your stories that I was just reading through and like really grinds my gears. Lindsay Lohan. You're number 8. Multiple vulnerabilities in that Netgear WNR614.
I could not figure out. They were very cagey about how the authentication bypass
Yeah,
worked.
so they released a bunch of vulnerabilities in that router in a
Mhm.
specific firmware version. And this device has been end of lifed. And so the first one was improper authentication, broken access control.
I still don't know what they mean by that.
Exactly.
By the way,
So they said poor authentication protocols allowing insecure passwords pose a severe threat to network security. And the proof of concept. The Netgear's weak authentication allowing base 64 credential cracking.
yeah. So they've got a
security risk.
screenshot of burp in the decoder tab.
Yep.
The decoder tab.
Yep.
With the base 64 password at the top and the username and password in clear text at the bottom.
Yep.
That's all it is. No other details provided. The second screenshot is they ran the firmware through binwalk, extracted the squashfs file system, and it's a listing in the www.eng directory, which contains all the web files.
Yep.
Capital PWD _password.htm that's the one.
And it says open
Right.
link.
And it's got an arrow pointing to that, and it's
Open-
like
it says
right
open
click
link.
like open link, and that's all it says. So I downloaded the firmware, I extracted it, the squashfs file system with binwalk, and I looked inside that file, and then I fed that file into ChatGPT, and I said, "Hey, can you tell me all the vulnerabilities that exist in that?" And it gave me like a really high level description of the vulnerabilities that were in there, and there was nothing immediately apparent.
And according to the release here, it says allows attackers to bypass authentication and access the administrative interface via unspecified vectors. The fuck?
PWD _password.htm is the page to reset your password on the router.
Yep. And then there's another one about resetting that password that you are allowed to reset the password to a single digit, bypassing any of their password restrictions.
ChatGPT did say that they did not really well implement the password complexity rules.
Yep.
It did tell me that.
Yep. So password policy bypass was there. That don't conform to their standards. Cookie without HTTP only secure flag set. Like, of course, like this thing is ancient.
Right.
What do you expect?
But like the kicker is this router is not supported by openware. However, I did find a 5-year-old roughly GitHub repository that had all of the tools, the toolkit to compile openware for this platform. If you really hate yourself, you'll try and compile that. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So
been there, done that.
Some other ones. Password storage in plain text. Yeah, they put the Wi-Fi password in Etsy Etsy WPA _ supplement.
ChatGPT said the way that they're storing the password for the actual users on the router was insecure. That it was not hashing it. Yeah.
Oh,
it gleaned that from the source code.
Interesting. Well, so another one, no, they did a bunch of search for stuff on the file system as well, looking for strings, and that the Wi-Fi pre-shared key password was stored in plain text. Of course, it's a 5-year-old firmware.
Right.
Oh, and it's vulnerable to WPS-based attacks.
Well, yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah. What?
See prior age comment.
Yeah, exactly.
I tied this one up with long story short, buy a new router.
Yeah.
That was my conclusion. Like you can try and use a 5-year-old GitHub repository to compile openware, or maybe
spend
decompile the
$120 and buy a new router.
Decompile the firmware and get rid of some of these vulnerabilities. That's going to be super hard because then you're going to put the firmware back together and somehow fix these.
Mm-hmm.
Not worth the effort.
Spend $120 and replace grandma's router.
$120? You can get away cheaper than that. No,
actually.
Hey, grandma games. She needs the 6, the Wi-Fi 6. Okay, come on.
The Wi-Fi 6E, yeah, but
7.
But if she's using this one, Josh, no, she doesn't.
That's true. That's valid.
So yeah, I mean, prices of those things have gone up. Like, you seen the price of shit now? Like, if we think about, and I had this last night. Our oldest finished school for the year, and they were going to go hang out with some friends, like a little celebration for, hey, we finished all our finals for this year. Time to go be juniors now. And they were going to go down to the little local pond. And a couple of them got there, and they're like, yeah, the water's cold and the water is actually really gross. Can we come to the house and make a bonfire in the fire pit? And next thing you know, I had 12 teenagers in my backyard with fire.
It's a great combination.
Yep. And like,
sounds like a
standard
we'll
just order a bunch of pizzas and all that type of stuff. Dude, it was $130 for pizza. Like,
how does this relate to it? Could they not get on your Wi-Fi?
No.
Okay.
The cost of stuff.
Like, okay. Sorry. I was
10 years ago.
Wondering where that was.
10 years ago, you wanted to get 6 pizzas delivered from Domino's. Like, when we were in college, how much did it cost to get 6 pizzas delivered to your dorm room for a party?
Not much.
Like, dude, give me $2 and yeah, it was like $30 for 6 pizzas from Domino's. No, it was $130 for 6 pizzas delivered.
Yikes.
Yep.
So what you're saying is now the people don't have money for a new router, which is why they're hanging on to their Netgear WNR614.
And you said, no, you can get a router cheaper. Like, well, $85 is kind of like bargain basement at this point. Like,
but then you got to match the capabilities on your devices with the capabilities on, because you could buy Wi-Fi 6, but if you don't have Wi-Fi 6 support on,
just buy a no-name one off AliExpress and you're good.
Oh, you're totally fine, right? Totally fine. That's probably the exact same thing as the WNR614, just in a different case, right?
So I go a completely different direction, Larry. I think about when I was in college, the good pizza was Blondie's Pizza, and it was about $2 a slice, but a slice was as big as your head. I mean, it was huge.
Yep.
It was, that whole pie was, I think, 18.
It begs the question, what do we do for the non-nerds out there that are running all these old Wi-Fi routers? And when we say Wi-Fi routers, it's their firewall, it's their wireless for their home, and it's their switch, like all in one. How do we get people to get rid of the stuff that's end of life, that has heinous vulnerabilities? People create exploits for them because they know that they're going to be hanging out on the internet, and it's exploitable.
About seizing people's property against their Fourth Amendment rights.
I did not have to go door to door.
How likely
like a door-to-door salesman knock on that door and tell them all
the beautiful thing about the internet.
Can I bring you the words of our Lord and Savior, Wi-Fi 7?
We don't need to go door to door. We're on the internet. We're only 4 milliseconds away.
I compiled this firmware myself. It's fantastic.
Ma'am, it's hand polished firmware. I will show you that I will dump this malware on your rug and vacuum it up with this firmware.
We got a small book for you to read.
Speaking of that,
yeah. Now let's move on now.
And I will.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot.
I will go share this story.
Well,
but I forgot to put this one in. There's a tweet from hackerfantastic.x. There's a post from hackerfantastic.x or hackerfantastic that someone left a secure Russian phablet on the back of a bus in the Sainsbury, England. It was running Aurora OS, a so-called trust phone device for use by Russian government and corporations. And someone dumped the flash and 3 different versions of the flash and put it to Mega. And you know what it is?
Android.
Sorry, I was drinking. Android.
Yeah, what version?
8?
Yep.
5.
Wow.
Android 8.10.
Because all crappy Android devices are Android 8. There's got to be something about its ease of compiling, support for hard something.
I mean,
because all the shitty Android devices I have are usually Android 8.
All I will say is that I work for a company that does supply chain security and SBOMs, but we do that through reverse engineering of firmware. And holy shit!
And do you support Android?
Oh yeah,
on your platform.
Oh yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
have sorry.
some firmware for you, my friend.
Like, yeah, backdoor accounts without passwords.
Oh, APKs that phone home and
So what was the other one? So backdoor account with no password, in one of the versions, and vulnerabilities from 2017 with malformed MMS messages that would do remote code execution.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it.
Yeah, and older Android stuff like
unsecure Russian government.
Jesus Christ. And there's a dozen like NSA hackers that just went, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
Actually, they didn't say that. They just internalized it.
Yeah.
Right.
How about a feel-good story?
Yeah. How about a feel-good story?
My number 11.
I got a feel-good story.
Okay.
Everyone, Aubrey, go ahead.
Go for it, Aubrey.
Okay, I got a real quick one, and this is just that the Sorbs blacklist is gone. I don't know if anyone noticed that.
Yeah.
They shut it down permanently. So as a longtime SMTP administrator, I have to tell you, it makes me just so happy.
Holy crap!
So that's my feel good story.
It makes you happy because they blacklisted your legitimate mail server more than once, right?
More
legitimate.
Wait, was
air
that
quotes
the,
legitimate.
Yeah, was that the blacklist that was run by this one guy with a wizard staff or something? Like, no, I'm not joking. There's an RBL that was run by one guy who literally in his picture he's holding a wizard staff.
Of course,
he's like, and I don't know who it is, but it's one guy ran an RBL that people took seriously, and you could get banned. And blacklisted because of that sucker.
Yeah, we had bad luck.
Spam House had him ranked like really high or something.
We had terrible luck with Sorbs. So when I saw that this week, I was like, all right, things do turn out sometimes.
Well, I mean, who hasn't accidentally put an SMTP relay on the internet for a university and accidentally misconfigured it so it was an open relay and then ended up on a blacklist and then had faculty and students really mad because no one can get their email. Not that I'm speaking from experience.
I mean,
I was going to say, Paul,
replace university with hospital and students and faculty with doctors and nurses. Yeah. Never.
So we won't ask Paul
how. Never, not once.
We won't ask how they know this. Because never
what happened to Lee? He froze mid-sentence.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. He's back.
How am I so tangled?
What? Did you say, how are you so tanked?
Tangled.
Tangled. It's the bourbon.
It's always the bourbon.
So how about
what the fuck?
How about my number 11? Where Microsoft
go ahead
and Google
with your number 11 while I get untangled.
So Microsoft and Google are going to be offering services for free to rural hospitals. Microsoft's going to extend their nonprofit where you can get free Office accounts, and they're going to give them access to free security services. Google is what's Google doing?
That's nice.
Low cost services to them. There's about 2,100 of them. As I read about, like every couple of days, there's a new healthcare.
Providing endpoint security advice at no cost and a pool of funding to support software migration.
Yeah. I mean,
you froze, Lee. Sorry.
I'm okay. So I'm thinking this is cool. Although you are going to generate more customers for both Microsoft and Google. I get that, but how many healthcare breaches have we seen
Too many.
lately? And these are the rural guys who are like, hey, can I use baling wire instead of Ethernet? They're a lot less resourced. So I'm thinking, hey, let's take care of these clowns. Good guys, actually. They're working very hard.
Yes, and they're using baling wire for Ethernet.
May or may not.
And seriously, Lee, we make the joke about the baling wire instead of Ethernet. There were instances where there were DSL being deployed to farmhouses in somewhere around the early 2000s, and it was running over barbed wire.
Yeah,
I bet it freaking worked.
The protocol is PPPoBW, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Is that the phone system you're talking about, or actual like IP?
But so ADS or DSL over the phone system, that was the phone system last mile cabled was over barbed wire.
Was done in barbed wire for the Coke bottles as insulators and barbed wire. Yeah.
Yep. And folks had very low speed, like 128K ADSL over some of that stuff.
Yeah, but it's better than nothing. And when you're out in the middle of
bloody Texas,
exactly. It was twice 56.6 via dial-up, right? Like you double the speed increase.
You can get that holodeck porn faster.
Oh, come on. Don't you remember how fast ISDN was?
Yep. Bonded 56K.
Bonded.
64K. Bonded 64K.
I will tell you that my first time ever seeing a T1 was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Okay? Yeah.
And it was at a trade show where I had 2 computers to set up, and I was supposed to have internet access to each. So I had to go buy NICs for the computer because I had RJ11s in them because I was expecting modem access, and they showed up with the Ethernet. I'm like, the hell am I supposed to do with this? They're like, you need a switch and you need a NICs. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Wow.
So I had to go hit a computer store in New York City, buy stuff, install it, and then I spent all night. I didn't sleep that night because I was like, I'm on the internet. It's at speed. It was amazing.
Yeah. Hey, at least you didn't have to buy the V.35 cable.
What's that?
At least you didn't have to buy the V.35 cable.
Oh God, don't even get me started on that crap.
I ended up
we're old.
I ended up having a T1 in my house, if you can believe it.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, that working from home in 2003. I worked for a service provider, and they sent me home, but I had to do all these installs like Sun servers and things like that in Asia Pacific. So, it was ISDN or T1. So
T1.
They gave me a T1.
Hell yeah.
NNTP service, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Hey, another feel-good story?
Oh, OpenSSH introduces options to penalize undesirable behavior.
This is cool.
This is really cool because I thought it was like you had to go in and enter the IP address and then it would apply that. No. This is figuring it out on its own. So, so I read articles on this which were really bad at explaining it, and then I read the official documentation, which was good, but it's documentation. And ChatGPT actually came up with the best, just because like after I read the articles and the documentation, I was like, how do I describe this? Like, I wonder how well ChatGPT can describe this. And so ChatGPT says, per source penalties is an open SSH server configuration option that helps mitigate brute force attacks and password guessing attempts. When enabled, it imposes penalties on IP addresses that repeatedly fail authentication attempts within a certain time frame.
And here's how it works.
So when an IP address fails to authenticate, it imposes a penalty to that IP address. And then you can escalate it based on a user-defined number of failed attempts in a certain time window, specify the time window, in the whole thing. So you can configure all of the settings about how it. Now, there are some downsides to it, obviously, like you can DOS yourself if you configure it poorly, obviously. So yeah, I thought it was really cool.
Hello, console.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I got another quick feel-good story here that was probably from last week, but I suspect that you guys didn't cover it. My story number 3 how China's 1980s PC industry hacked dot matrix printers. And you immediately think, China hacking dot matrix printers, like, oh my God, it was for espionage. No, it was so they could print Chinese character sets on printers that were marketed to the American market because no Chinese printers existed.
And weren't they?
This was a cool article. I liked it too, Larry. Like that, just showing how they fixed the dots and how the characters were taller, and really interesting one.
They instead of doing what the 9-pin printer, they found a 24-pin printer that could get better resolution, and then they hacked the drivers to change, so effectively do 2 print passes with the dots just slightly offset so that they would overlap better to give better resolution and not make the characters double tall, because they needed that effectively 2 lines to do the resolution. The other one that comes crazy is that they one of the companies hired some guy to fix the driver, and they paid him like a pittance. They paid him like $500 to write this driver, and they made millions on sending this driver with these printers that they resold into China and Japan.
Wow. Feels good.
It feels good. Yep.
Good.
Yep. Crazy. But I just thought it was a really neat application of like just make the hardware do something just a little different with a different driver, and now they've got this amazing retrofit for a huge market for printers.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Still blows me away that dot matrix printers are still used.
Yep. Are they still, Lee? I mean, last time I saw one in the wild was at the Providence airport, and they were printing stuff out for like passenger manifest or something behind the airport, the ticket counter in the airport at Southwest.
Same thing, different airport.
Same thing at an airport. Renting a car was the last time I've seen one. It was this year, but renting a car.
You can still buy dot matrix printers on Amazon.
Those are for the airlines. It's not joking.
No, I remember we had these. Remember the Oki Data Microline?
Yep.
Dude, that's the airlines that buy all of those.
You can buy one for $700 on Amazon. You want the link?
New?
I don't know.
They have warehouses full of the fucking tractor feed paper because they can't get any more made. When they run out of those printers, like fully run the futs out of those printers, it's gonna be ugly.
Yeah. What are they going to do?
Those printers bring back bad memories. I'm going to buy one just to smash it. I think I'd pay $700 just to get
PC load letter, bitch. Yeah.
We'll find one at a yard sale for something.
You remember the 90s? Me too. Wham.
Oh God, that hits a little close to home. Unintended.
Wham was more the 80s, but
yeah, it was.
Oh, I had a funny one. Dave Vitale, who's gonna interview for his Hacker Heroes interview, is gonna be airing coming up here soon.
Cool.
So I sat down with Dave Vitale. I don't know, the Daily Dave, like the special place in my heart. But Dave has just such a way with words. You just read the description, didn't you?
Yeah.
And Dave's writing in a post to the mailing list titled "GDB Dances in the Moon," and he says, like, people are out there just raw dogging source code from random other open source developers with their local environment running tokens to give them access to everything they could possibly need from their Google account. And like, Dave, you have such a way with words. Like, if there was ever a better description of this problem.
Raw dogging the source code.
Yep.
It's GitHub tube. There we go.
Yeah, iTube. What?
Good Lord.
Oh no.
It is a problem. I don't know if anyone wants to have a serious conversation about the issue, but I like the quote.
You're not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many times has this happened? It's you just take code off the internet. Like, I also program in Stack Overflow. Right.
Not even that.
You speak Stack Overflow.
But not only that, if you install software,
yep,
Python or NPM, right?
PHP.
Like, Kurt talks about this on the Open Source Security podcast all the time. He uses the same example, but I think it's great because I still don't think people get it. It's like, I want to run this Python script.
Yep.
And it pulls in all these dependencies and transient dependencies. So I'm installing this one script and it goes, hey, do you want to download 386 megabytes of stuff? And I'm like,
Sure.
hell yeah, I do. I want to run this script. What is it installing? I have no idea. We're way beyond the point of ISDN and T1s now, right? Where you can go, yeah, 386 megs. Sure. That's awesome.
It'll take me like 2 seconds.
Put all that code on my computer and then I'm going to run it. And we
Let
all
alone
do it.
saying
We
Control
all do it.
C. There's no abort. It's too fast.
That's right. You don't even have time to Control C. Just downloads it. And then you're like, yeah, I want to run it. But you're running a lot of other people's code.
Yep.
Then you start seeing that list go by and you're going, oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did I just do?
Why did I need to install all these packages via PEP?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay.
Well, I did it in a virtual environment, so that makes it safe, right?
Oh, yeah.
Wait,
The first step was
wait, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
But it's virtual and it's
Right?
separate.
And it's an environment.
I'm
right? It's
sorry,
not
I
my
can't install
environment,
that
it's a
till you delete
virtual.
your snapshots. Please delete your snapshots so I can install this package.
The right way to do it is in a VM and then go through every single line of source code yourself looking for backdoors. Right?
Uh-huh.
But why do I need to do that? It's open source. Everybody has.
Everyone has already looked at it to determine if there's backdoors, right? Because
Yep.
we totally didn't have a backdoor in XE that no one noticed
Nice.
until we got lucky and someone noticed.
Well, I got a bridge for sale.
Right?
Yeah, it's cheap. And it's on swampland.
Oh, Lee, I think both you and I had
It rolled into the swamp. Then I built another one on top of it. It also sunk into the swamp. Then I built another one on top of that. It turned over, burned, and flew into the swamp.
And the fourth one, it stayed up.
Huge tracts of land.
I think are you talking about
Message for you, sir.
how do you say it? Is it ARM Mali GPU? MALI?
Molly? Yeah, we'll go with
Molly? Yeah.
Or ARM like Mali, like the drug Mali? Or
No, like the country Mali in Africa.
oh, okay. ARM
country.
Mali.
that. That's MOLLY, Paul.
Oh.
Come on.
ARM Mali,
This is
Mali. GPU 0 day under active exploitation. Millions of devices at risk. I was just like, update your phones because these GPUs are largely on smartphone kind of devices. What was it? Valhalla and something else chipsets, and it was a vulnerability in the kernel drivers.
Right.
Who's in what story of this?
My story number 7, I believe Lee had it as well.
Yeah, number 1.
I had it number 1. Yeah. Yeah, that was like, you got to get you got kernel drivers. I wasn't clear that they even had patches out for this. I was wondering, but I didn't get a chance
latest
to pull
driver
that.
update is R41P0 for
P0.
both Bifrost and Valhalla GPU kernel drivers. Yeah.
Right. But then, okay, that's their code, but then what's the consumer going to grab?
I believe there's an update for Pixel. I believe Google fixed this in the Pixel platform along with a bunch of other stuff.
So
that
then
I probably haven't even applied yet.
So ASOP's got it, but then the vendors have got to pull it together.
Yeah.
Or
That was
AOSP, rather.
That was a kind of like glean from
It's
this
kind
one.
of,
The Ice Cube.
you know, ARM's been pretty rock solid and you know, just clicking along. So it's not like they get bugs every day, not like Chrome.
Ooh.
Ouch.
Did I say that out? Was that my out loud voice?
That was your out loud voice. Yes.
Damn it,
That's
I
been
got to
a
work on
veritable
that guy.
Oh, have you guys ever bought
Nope.
Next story. No, have you guys ever bought
Nope.
a wired headset, but it's actually wireless?
No,
Wearing
but I
one.
read
That
this
was
one. It's
intriguing.
fascinating.
Dude,
this was my favorite story.
Dude, right? Like mind.
Bill, you said the printer one was your favorite story.
Yeah, they're all my favorites. They're Larry. We can all, like everyone gets an award.
So who are you, and what did you do with Bill? Why are you being so nice? What did Trent do to you to make you so nice?
Don't ask the question. Don't ask that.
Is this Aubrey's influence?
He is
Did he
still
ice
drunk
you?
from last night. That's
That's
what
right.
Ice you?
It was Molly, probably. I don't know.
Not the GPU. Okay.
He Smirnoffed me and roofied me, and yeah.
Yep.
Now
So
he's
tell us,
engaged
tell
in
us-
running
oh,
Molly
tell us
so,
about
but
this
wait.
wired headset, Paul.
Bill, why is this your favorite story, though?
Well, I just like, can you imagine buying some cheap ass wired headphones and it turns out that they're Bluetooth? And like,
Yeah.
so I love the fact, like, actually just the whole hardware hacking side of this was just great. So, obviously, connecting to like Apple devices, you have to be an Apple certified device. And so from what I understand,
But you have to pay money.
Which
You
you
should
have
give
to-
money to Apple
to get
to
licensed.
be listed as an Apple certified device, and there's probably all kinds of stuff you have to go through, submit your code, your device, like there's a whole process, and you have to pay money, right?
right. And so from what I understand in this article, the connector that actually goes into the phone utilizes the power from the connector to spin up a Bluetooth sender, right? And then the headphones themselves are Bluetooth
Or
devices.
But they don't have to
And-
put a battery in it because batteries are expensive,
Right.
and
Because
Yeah.
it
they're
has some
just
power.
They're just getting power
Power
from
off
the
lightning
lightning
connect.
port to power the Bluetooth in the headset. So you still need a wire for power. I
Like-
mean, actually, it's not a horrible, like it's a
And then-
great hack.
and then
It's
it
not a horrible idea. Who
It's
has
a
had
great
Bluetooth headphones or earbuds that run on a battery life, right? Like, yes, it still has a wire, but I
Like,
don't have to
can
worry
you
about charging a
imagine-
battery. I'm like,
Can you imagine if you had like audio dropout in your wired headphones, like like a Bluetooth?
Right.
What?
Yeah.
Like,
My
Oh,
bigger
they thought they
concern
could
with my
fool
Bluetooth
people.
is when I actually have physical drop out of my ear on a plane and having to go find
Oh.
it.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
why
there's that.
wired's great because you have a
Wired's
leash.
great, right?
You have a leash.
I use wired 98% of the time anymore because as nice as the wireless are, that is a bugger when they fall out.
so I think it's also interesting that it's somehow cheaper for all those electronics than to go through Apple
Aw.
like certification.
We're all waving at
We're all
Josh's
waving at
kids.
Josh's
Yeah,
kids,
yeah.
But also, when you plug in a non-authorized device to an Apple, an iPhone, for example, it comes up with a warning message and
Yep.
says this is not an authorized device. But these devices, I would imagine, don't trigger that warning because it's only pulling power from the
Correct.
pins.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So
Let's go to
crazy.
my next favorite article.
Which is
Any of them.
Whichever's
Doesn't matter.
next, Yeah.
Yeah, he
so,
loves
yeah.
it.
Which one is it, Bill? You have to pick it now.
I think we're all done.
Do 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 do.
Perfect. Perfect.
I know we got the we both chose articles from Nicholas Stark.
Yeah.
I
Which
believe
one?
you had an article from Nicholas from Stark blog as well. Yeah, it's your first one, the iGoat challenge
write-up.
write up.
Yeah. So this
Yeah.
is this
So we interviewed Nicholas Stark on Below the Surface, one of the earlier episodes. So if you check out Below the Surface podcast from Eclipsium, I interviewed Nicholas. He's an awesome guy.
So this is one of those that I didn't care so much the fact about the write-up, the actual write-up for iGoat.
What is iGoat?
It's an OWASP project, like
Oh,
for doing mobile app hacking
Attacks.
stuff.
Yeah.
Attacks on iOS.
Yep. And I didn't necessarily care about the fact that it was a write-up on iGoat. What I did care about it was pieces of advice that I think we've given to folks on this podcast that are looking to get a start in this industry is that go write something.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care if someone has written a write-up for iGoat 1,000 times. We want to see how you approach the problem. Maybe you picked up something different. You
Oh.
find a little bit of different tool, like maybe all these other people that have written this up have used tool A, and you used tool B because it was the new tool, it was an old tool, it was just a tool that you've encountered. Just because 1,000 other people have written up how they walked through iGoat,
Mhm.
you should too.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're applying for job interviews, we get to see your writing style. We get to see that you have some technical capability. We get to see your thought process, how you troubleshot.
Also, I mean, there's a
You
whole
name it.
section on binary patching with Ghidra, which is pretty awesome. And if you haven't done that before,
Yep.
Nicholas has a little example of doing it to a Swift application.
Right. And I hate to say this, maybe that's really where your expertise is. That is a little different than some of the other write-ups that might be out there. When folks ask, how do I get started in computer security? Well, go do stuff. Go take some of these practices, look at some of these CFPs and write up your adventure. Even if you failed.
Right.
Because other people will learn from your failures. You'll learn from your failures. And and the big one is I don't care if 1,000 other people have done it. Yours is going to be different. Yours is yours. And it gives me something to read from your perspective as part of that interview process.
Right.
So that was what really grabbed me, because how many people have written up stuff for iGoat? Probably quite a few.
Right.
But here's another one.
Nicholas Stark also wrote an article on Thecus NAS firmware. Is that how you say that? Thecus? G-H-E-C-U-S. The cuss? The cuss?
Thick ass?
There's no ass in there, Larry.
Oh, right. It's with an accent.
What
was that, Mandy?
Nothing. I'm saying the cuss.
The cuss.
The cuss.
I don't know
like
if that's
the
it.
I mean,
It's just the
arguably,
cuss.
yeah, the cuss. Yeah, arguably.
Right.
The cuss. NAS firmware decryption. So Nicholas had done some work on this several years ago, and then someone was using his previous research and was like, hey, dude, like it's not working anymore.
Dude, your shit's broke.
And a lot of times you don't get an answer on that. And it's like, well, I'll figure it out on your own. Like that was a project I did 8 years ago. I don't feel like dealing with it anymore. I moved on to other things. And but Nicholas was like, oh, this particular function in OpenSSL has been deprecated, and that's why it's not working. So let's get some OpenSSL.cnf directives in there to re-enable that deprecated feature. And by the way, let me just rewrite a bunch of the stuff in Python and then call this stuff out so that we can still decrypt the firmware. And I tell you what, there's nothing more frustrating when you first embark on a project to analyze firmware and you realize it's encrypted. You're like, and then you're searching on the internet for other people that maybe have gone through some of the hard work to figure out how to decrypt it. And like, thankfully, sometimes they've written it up. And so I thank Nicholas for not only writing it up initially, but continuing that and putting together a whole new GitHub repository for the latest code. Because I think like software, in my opinion, software wants to be free and open, and firmware wants to be not encrypted and free and open, so we can all look at it and find heinous vulnerabilities in it, which is awesome.
Yep.
So I thought that was pretty cool, and all the details are
cool.
in the blog post.
Yeah. And total credit, like, hey, I did this thing like 6 or 8 years ago, and yeah, whatever, I'm not going to support this anymore. It's like, oh, hey, there's an actual better way to do this, and let's go do that.
Yep.
Like that's cool. I don't care if I'm not doing this research anymore, but I can do this better. Also great.
What
else we got?
I had something else in here too that we hadn't covered yet. We covered PHP, covered HP ProBooks. Oh, Ukraine's nuclear regulatory body confirmed Chernobyl's post-invasion radiation spikes had an abnormal origin. However, Ruben Santamarta seems to think that this was essentially a PSYOP and analyzed all the data. He presented this at a conference and also presented his paper. So he presented this in 2023 at Black Hat, but then also acceptance for notification Black Hat. Then the paper was submitted to the Journal of Radiological Protection so that other people could analyze the data. And he's got all kinds of data and reference points in this particular article, and basically comes to the conclusion that everything he observed, that he had the feeling it was facing a striking example of a PSYOP, meaning there were no radiological spikes in Chernobyl during the invasion
when
from Russia,
when
right?
Russian forces took over Chernobyl,
right. And so, but he says he'll leave it as an exercise to speculate by the reader based on the given data.
So basically, the exercise that he's trying to lead you to is that there were radiation spikes observed near Chernobyl when the Russians took it over, and that it was likely not from Chernobyl. It was some outside source to make it look like Russians had done it.
Pretty amazing research.
So on an off the page moment, Larry, this is reminding me of the article Shelley sent you last night about in the Ukrainian, they've got teams trying to use drones for recon that can survive all the electronic warfare, including dicking around with GPS and all this stuff. And they've been working on, it was really cool. It talked about how they're working on making low tech options so that they'll get their devices back, that they can fly back, that, they're recording locally in case the video stream back to the controller is interrupted. So when they recover the device, there's memory chips with what it saw. And I was thinking about you because of all the talk we've talked about, jacked up GPS in the past.
Yep. So they're clearly jacking up GPS over Ukraine, which makes using some of these drones for doing reconnaissance and stuff really difficult. Yeah, like they'll let them launch the drones and then they start doing some stuff. And then when they try to get the drones back and have it returned to home, it doesn't know where to go. And it sits there and runs out of battery and crash lands somewhere or goes somewhere completely different because electronic warfare is messing with GPS, and now they'd have no reconnaissance. Like the initial part of that article was, I sent my drone up and I told it to come back, and I'm still waiting. It might come back. It most likely won't.
Hey, did anyone catch the podcast interview on Open Source Security Podcast with Alex Coolidgen?
Nope.
He is the creator of the Flipper Zero.
Oh.
And they interviewed him. There was some interesting nuggets in there that I think some discussion points for us. Is that the device was banned by Amazon. Amazon cannot sell Flipper Zero devices. I think many of us probably remember this when Amazon made that decision. A couple of interesting things. The reason that he got was Amazon said they could use it to clone, use it as a card skimmer and or credit card cloning device, which is totally not true.
Welcome to Amazon, now with flavors of Canada.
Yes, right. I mean, also, like, it's a fun party trick to read the chip from people's credit cards with your Flipper Zero, like, at the bar or whatever. But, like, also, if you have the credit card, you could read the numbers off of it. It's that wasn't, like, really overly impressive for me.
Next up, Canada bans eyes.
Yeah, and one of the hosts is from Canada. They were giving him a ration of crap about that, but also thanking all the Canadians that signed the petition that was like, no, you shouldn't ban this device because it's stupid to ban this device. But Alex also said, like, there's no good path to appeal Amazon's decision to ban the device, and this was the part that was like most concerning to me. I mean, the Canada part is just, that's politics, and like I get that, and I understand a lot more about the stolen car market in Canada, way more than I think we ever should. But in any case, we'll get to that in a moment. But with Amazon, he said there's like a department, and he's like, I can't figure out which division in Amazon because it's like not listed anywhere. But there are people at Amazon that are making this decision to go, for legal reasons, we can't sell this device. And there's no feedback loop. There's no nothing. Like, they come out, and it's like the appeal process. You can't call anyone. You can't talk to an actual person. Like, you got to just submit this form. And he's like, I don't think it goes anywhere. Like, I think you submit this form, and it just goes into the bit bucket
it goes into an S3 bucket somewhere.
Yeah. So, like, they've determined that the risk is too high to sell this device, which is astonishing because there's probably a lot more. We should put together like an Amazon wish list of things you could use to commit cyber crimes with stuff you could buy from Amazon. Like that would be a pretty awesome Amazon wish list.
That would be a good
Now-
list.
That
we
is a
need
good
to,
idea.
Billy, we need to get someone to create that for us because we're
Yeah.
lazy.
And then Amazon will use
Yeah.
that wish list of all the things they're going to ban.
Right.
And then send me an Amazon
ban.
gift card so I can buy all the stuff on that list.
Hell
Great.
yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yep.
So I thought that was
And then we'll write reviews on it.
because what there was
We'll review it on the
something
show.
right. There was
We could
something
show
else that was.
exactly how it works.
Was there something else that was banned from Amazon that was like a hacker kind of tool? I want to say there was something.
I don't know
else.
about. Well, we see that all the time with the quote magic RFID cards where you can overwrite UID 0 for MyFair and stuff. That like you go to search Amazon for them and you find a vendor and you order 10 of them. And you want to go get 10 more. So you go back to your previous listing like 2 days later and that seller is no longer listed on Amazon. But if you search for that same string that you searched for last time, you find a new seller that has the exact same description and the exact same images of that card under a new name and the same price. And you buy them from there. And then you find you need 5 more. So you go back to that previous one that you bought it from and they're gone. And it's a game of whack-a-mole. So I wonder if a game of whack-a-mole with the Flipper Zero on Amazon would work.
Right.
That's a lot of work, though.
I'm trying to find like other stuff on Amazon that's been banned. It's leading me down like this really
Bad
Yeah,
rabbit
I was
rabbit hole.
I was doing the same
Bill was-
thing. So
yeah,
like a license plate flipper, so like where you
right.
know, like flip your license plate up.
all stuff you can
Um,
buy in AliExpress, no
Yep.
problem.
And
Yeah.
Paul, I remember you said that
Lockpick guns.
earlier on that you had a flipper. It was on order. It hadn't come in, and you bought one off of Amazon.
I
at
did buy
highly
one, yeah.
Escalated prices.
Yeah,
Highly
I
elevated
did pay
prices.
my first flipper. I probably paid 30% roughly more than what they're listed for because I got back from ShmooCon and I felt like I was the only hacker that went to ShmooCon that didn't have a Flipper Zero, and I felt
FOMO.
really left out. And they were sold out, except I could buy one on Amazon for like $200 and something. And so
So
I
they
did.
were selling them on Amazon.
They
at
were
one
selling,
point.
and at that time that would have been
There were-
2023, so it
Let's put it
wasn't
this
that
way.
long ago.
There was someone selling them on Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't the company that manufactures.
Oh
the
yeah, because they were gouging. But now you can buy them from the regular site. Also, what I was wondering, like, when are they going to come out with the next version of the Flipper? Because they crushed it. I mean, their first Kickstarter, their goal they said was $60,000, and they raised like 1.8 million or something. So like to say they knocked it out of the park is even an understatement. So I'm like, what's V2
next?
like? How do you like V2 is going to be hugely popular?
Maybe, but they've got to. It becomes an arms race. Like they've got to up their game. It
Right.
can't be the same thing over again in a new
Right.
case. It's got to have all these additional features. And what features are they going to add?
I want 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi support.
I
Me
want something
too.
I want bigger range software defined radio, even if it's an RTL SDR.
Yeah.
Receive only. That's fine.
So hopefully, Flipper Zero folks, you're listening. That's what Larry and Paul want. So
I want RGB LEDs.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. The
Oh
Bus
my
Pirate
God.
5 has that. They're awesome, dude. They're awesome. It serves absolutely no purpose other than to look cool. Like no purpose whatsoever. It just looks
You
cool.
got to do your own version of the welcome wagon. Come on, remember Independence Day?
Yeah. I think it was the Hackaday review of the Bus Pirate that was like, they're kind of distracting. I'm like, actually, I kind of get that too. Because I have it on my desk and on the corner of my eye, like there's lights flashing everywhere and it's very distracting. Yeah. But it's super cool.
Yet that keyboard over there in the hackerspace, in your side of the hackerspace,
Yes.
isn't distracting at all.
No, I know. Yeah.
No.
I think it defaulted to just color changing. Yeah.
I'm just busting you.
So definitely check out that interview. They didn't ask him what was coming next, kind of thing, but
Shame.
I'm curious to see what's coming next.
Uh-huh.
And they also didn't talk about like the entire market they create. We talked about Apple accessories, like the entire Flipper Zero accessory
Accessories.
market
Yep.
it's so
They-
awesome.
they-
Now there's also a lot of price gouging there because you'll find people selling like ESP32 based boards
Yep.
for like $100+ and I'm like, no, don't. That's
Don't do
that
that.
those parts cost them like maybe $12 altogether. Now they had to solder it together, get it in the right PCB, and all that stuff too. But
Yeah. So speaking of what's next, I think we should go with a story from Lee or whoever else has got some stories.
Lee, you are up, my friend.
Oh, then I ought to do something about that.
So SolarWinds, Lee?
Well, I was thinking SolarWinds. I mean, we had 2 issues with SolarWinds, and for the regular SolarWinds environment, we have 3 contestants in the form of CVEs. Sequel with
the 3 contestants are
the 3 contestants are CVE 2024-28996, CVE 2024-28999, CVE 2024-9004. 29004 loves to be stored XXS with a CVSS score of 4.8. I'm going to stop.
And long walks on the beach.
Yes. Well, that's actually more preferenced by 28996, the SWQL injection vulnerability. So there's actually a handful more, but the answer is just update to the 2024.2 version of the SolarWinds platform. When I was writing comments on this one, it was channeling the snark like big time.
Wait. The envelope, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid everybody's lost.
But don't forget Miscongeniality, their ServView MFT server. That also has a few issues, which includes their FTP server, their gateway, and its server itself.
Who has a ServView FTP server?
SolarWinds.
Oh, but that's their product though, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow,
They've got multiple
that brings
products.
back memories back in the day. Everyone.
Sometimes not good memories.
No.
Sometimes really good memories, but depending on which where sites you were connecting to. I mean,
at university they would be hacked. They'd put ServView FTP on there and host all kinds. And I'd be like, I need to confiscate that machine. Yeah, I need all the data that was put there. Yeah.
Well, I actually thought one of the cool things about this, and I've forgotten the exact details, but it was actually flagged by a NATO pen tester who caught this one.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't none of the normal folks we talk about catching the vulnerabilities, which I thought that was kind of cool. See those guys coming to the table to say, hey, because there's a lot of government customers that bought the SolarWinds Kool-Aid. And and I think every time I see anything SolarWinds, I'm thinking like blood in the water. Yeah, it's going to go after it, and just ask Dan to show you. You'll be seeing it, because it's easy to find these things.
Show Dan shows about 60,000. They're about potentially vulnerable ServView.
Oops.
And I'm sure not a one of them's getting probed.
Not one.
Maybe 60,000, but not one.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
did you guys read the Forescout IoT report?
Mm-mm.
Yep.
No.
The riskiest connected devices of 2020.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, good, because I didn't. Just saying.
Yeah, that's one.
I read articles that talked about it, but I didn't go read the actual report.
Yep, I did read the report.
What's your impression?
I like Forescout. I love their research.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
It to me, now I have a little bit different perspective because I work for a company that analyzes very similar types of things.
Loves IoT vulnerabilities.
And all of those types of things. But they found that the riskiest, the list is rounded out with some of the usual suspects, right? NAS, VoIP, IP cameras, printers, and network video recorders. Okay, tell me something different. Tell me something new. Not that I'm not bashing Forescout for telling us what is vulnerable in the market and what the trends are, and what they researched and what they found. But but
I think
a
lot of these reports, and we talked about it last week, I think with Josh Bressers as well, is that a lot of the reports say, well, vulnerabilities are increasing. So this is bad. Like, we have more vulnerabilities, and this is really bad. And you should go spend more on your, cybersecurity budget because there's more vulnerabilities. And I'm kind of sitting here going, like, look, there's a lot of reasons why we have more vulnerabilities. Now let's focus that lens on IoT devices. Yeah, we have more vulnerabilities for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, we have more IoT devices.
We have more IoT devices. 2, we have IoT devices that are super cheap to make and deploy that don't get updates after a certain period of time, which means the software is not getting patched, which means we're finding more vulnerabilities in things, even things in the supply chain, that are on these IoT devices. So therefore, we have more. We're also way better at finding and reporting and disclosing and tracking vulnerabilities on IoT devices, specifically. So all those factors play into, we have more IoT vulnerabilities. Also it's it's a really bad landscape in terms of vulnerability. I mean, Larry and I started looking into it in 2006 when we started writing the book heavily. And like, dude, not much has changed since then.
It's gotten bigger. Like, that's what's changed.
There's
like,
more.
There's more volume.
Like we predicted, we're like, holy shit, there's going to be more of this.
Because there's more volume. There's more devices. There's more manufacturers. There's cheaper stuff. There's cheaper tools. For interacting and exploiting, and like, it's a volume thing.
Think about the landscape back when you guys wrote that, and what was it, 2006, when you went into, say, your doctor's or your eye doctor's office about what equipment was there that was hooked to anything. And now think about what it would look like.
And back then I could see without glasses, Lee, which was amazing.
Well, I have no idea what you're talking about. But my point is, like, all the modern technology that's helping, I'm just picking on the medical field, but no malicious. They're all connected, and they're all
everything's
connected.
smart now too. Yeah,
right. And I have no idea if anybody's paying attention to security connecting that.
It was true.
Aubrey looks like he's got something to say.
Go ahead.
The thing that really freaks me out is we were talking about AI security, to start off, and I did an interview with a model dev not too long ago, who's putting models in cooktops. Okay, so just to have some idea, it's not just your traditional.
It's a great point, Aubrey. It builds on what I was about to say. Is that when Larry and I were writing the book, and on the show we were covering, like, hey, this device that wasn't smart before is now smart, right? And that was around the time where we'd go on the show. We're like, oh, hey, look, you can buy washers and dryers that are smart, and that was the first time on the market.
Hey, look, you can connect your toilet to the internet.
Yeah.
And it can analyze your poop.
And look where we are today. Now it's hard to buy certain classes of appliances and or things in your home that aren't smart. You can't buy a not smart TV. Like you can, but they're actually more expensive. That's a whole different segment. But what you're saying, Aubrey, is with Gen AI, is that now we're seeing the same trend. Now Apple's coming out saying AI is going to be in your phone. AI is going to be in everything. And it's like, whoa, hold on. We haven't fixed the original problems with IoT devices. Now we're just piling more smarts and software on top of these things. What could possibly go wrong?
Yep. Right. I mean, but I think about the economies of scale, or just the scale of some of this stuff. Like 15 years ago, we had an outdoor kitchen built last year. 15 years ago, when the outdoor kitchen was built and I wanted to put some lights in and be able to turn them on and off, I probably would have wired in a light switch. Yeah. And that type of stuff. Do you know what I have?
I have the sensor for my outdoor lights, which is very old and antiquated, where
when it gets dark, it turns on.
Yeah, it's got the sensor, and I set it to day and night.
Yep.
And it senses light, and
or you would have put one of those things that's a clock, and you set it to the time with the little dials with the little pins,
the analog pins. Of course. Yeah.
Do you know what I have now? I have an Amazon Echo controlled switch, and I have an Amazon Echo Dot in my outdoor kitchen. And I want to turn the lights on, and I tell Alexa to turn the damn lights on. Like, I didn't put a switch in; I put an Echo Dot.
Right.
And more importantly, I took the old, like, second gen Echo Dot out of my office and replaced it with a modern gen Echo Dot in my office, and took the old one, put it outside, so if it gets wet and I lose it,
Right.
no big deal.
Right. Amazon will send you another one for
$20
free.
item, whatever that is.
Exactly. But the point being here is that I don't have a light switch. I have IoT devices to turn the lights off in my outdoor kitchen, and the fountain, and the lights on my deck.
Right.
And
I'm planning on.
I could turn the lights off here in the studio. The problem is it would also turn like the cameras and the ATEM devices off as well, and you wouldn't be able to see us anymore. Not only because the lights would go off, but because the cameras might go off too.
Imagine if you would, teenagers going up and down the street saying, "Alexa, turn on the light."
I have I don't have any voice activated stuff here in the studio for just that reason. As we're speaking on the podcast, I don't want it to pick up.
Alexa, turn off the lights.
Yeah, turn off the lights, and then all the lights go off in the studio.
Because we used to have that. There used to be an Echo in the production space, and they used to listen to the podcast in real time in the production space. And I would jokingly say, "Alexa, add such and such to the shopping list."
Oh yeah, and such and such was
usually sexual of nature.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
And...
Alexa, add alien fleshlight to the shopping list. That was the standard.
Yeah. And the funny part was my wife actually saw that and she's like, "What are you buying on Amazon?" I'm like, "That was Larry. It was my friends hacking me." She's like, "Yeah, that's your excuse for everything. Your friends are hacking you." Right.
It's all funny until something gets delivered.
Right.
I thought someone was going to say, "Alexa, add Molly to the shopping list." But
right, that too.
No, but if you'll notice, somewhere behind them, there's a 50-gallon barrel of lube. Okay.
Yes. That's still an Amazon item. Can you still order a 55-gallon drum of personal lubricant?
Checking now.
Let's check. We need to fact check this.
I think McNary needs some more.
That's right.
Actually, considering what he's in the hospital right now, yes. No, he's home now. Never mind.
Yes.
Okay.
The brand is Passion.
Yep, Passion. I see it.
Oh, on that
still
note.
There?
Yeah, $1,800. That's some damn good lube.
Well, it's 55
so
gallons.
55 gallons of it. It's unscented. Yeah, unscented Passion natural water-based lubricant is $1,800.
And the
I bet the reviews are absolutely hilarious.
The reviews are amazing.
It's
the one that sticks out in my the one that
great for nursing homes.
The review that sticks out in my mind was, "I accidentally spilled this in my garage, and now it can fit an infinite number of cars."
You know what's that place? The Villages down in Florida. They have these scattered, like as you know.
Just pump top dispensers.
Yeah, come on, just in case. When you're old and the mood strikes you, got to do it now. You know.
This is a little bit too connected to what I was thinking when Larry's talking about the Echo Dot IoT connecting of his lights. I'm like, did any of us think the clapper would lead to this?
Oh my gosh,
you're dinging.
The clapper, even better, Mandy. You're right.
I'm shocked.
I was trying to hit mute, but I'm laughing so hard.
The last time I remember seeing an ad for the clapper was on the Super Bowl. Like the clapper and the Chia Pet was always on during the Super Bowl.
All right.
Well, I didn't want to pay the $5 shipping, so I just bought 25 of them to break the $25,000 free shipping threshold. That's when the lube.
So where are those being shipped, Bill? Do you need a bigger garage?
Yeah, I gotta tell you that the reviews on the 55 gallons are pretty funny. Yeah,
yes,
pretty good.
You should definitely go search that up for
Lord. Yeah, it's they're hilarious. Do we have anything else, or
no? We're gonna end it on the 55-gallon drum.
Last one. I don't know if you covered this last week or not, but the samcurry.net hacking millions of modems.
We did.
Okay,
I believe. Dude, awesome story.
Yeah,
amazing.
Hacking millions of who's hacking my modem? And oh man, there's millions of them out there. Oops,
crazy story.
Crazy.
Well, thank you everyone for listening and watching this edition of Paul's Security Weekly. That'll do it. Larry, take us out.